Three movies. Alfred Hitchcock, the master of suspense, once quipped, "Drama is life with the dull bits cut out." In his case, however, it was not just the dull bits. Hitchcock had a knack for turning the mundane into the macabre, and a stroll down a quiet hallway into a pulse racing ordeal. Whether it is birds inexplicably waging war on humanity, or a charming man with mother inviting you to a remote motel, Hitchcock never failed to make us reconsider the everyday. So keep an eye on the birds outside, because in Hitchcock's world, danger is always closer than you think. Sir Alfred Hitchcock was born on 13th August 1899 in London, England. A master of suspense, his films were laced with dark humor and a rather grim take on the human experience. Hitchcock's childhood in London's East End came with a ghostly backdrop. The shadow of Jack the Ripper still loomed large, with whispers of the notorious killer circulating long after the murders. Though he had two siblings, Alfred remembered his youth as a solitary affair, thanks to a father whose disciplinary methods were creative. One infamous incident had young Alfred marched to the local police station with a note from his father, leading to a brief yet terrifying stint behind the bars, planting seeds for his lifelong fear of small spaces and wrongful imprisonment, themes that would later crawl into his films. As if that were not enough, his doting mother smothered him with watchful eyes and endless meals, providing both the foundation for his signature punch and a lasting appreciation for the macabre. Let us take three quintessential Hitchcock films that showcase his genius for playing with suspense in entirely different ways: Psycho, The Birds, and North by Northwest. Each offers its own distinct flavor or thrill, proving that Hitchcock could serve up psychological terror, apocalyptic dread, and high flying adventure with equal flair. Movie number 1, Psycho, 1960. Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho is the cinematic equivalent of a perfectly set trap, carefully baited, meticulously timed, and impossible to escape. From its opening shot to its unforgettable finale, the film plays with audience expectations. with a shower scene that made people fear their own bathrooms. Hitchcock didn't just break the rules of filmmaking, he rewrote them in a new language of tension and terror. The story, deceptively simple, begins with Marion Crane deciding to run off with a bag full of stolen money, thinking her biggest problem is getting caught. But Psycho, being Psycho, her plans and quite literally her life are cut short by Norman Bates, a shy, soft spoken young man with a not so soft spoken mother. With what follows, Hitchcock gleefully toys with the audience's sympathies, initially setting us up to root for Marianne, only to pivot and put us in the hands of a charming lunatic. Cinematographically, Psycho is a masterclass in visual storytelling. His use of light and shadow is nothing short of masterful. Each scene is carefully lit to enhance tension and create an unnerving atmosphere. Take the Bates Motel, for example, a seemingly innocuous roadside stop bathed in soft light, which somehow makes it even creepier. The interiors, on the other hand, are claustrophobic and shadowy, with the taxidermy filled parlor particularly screaming, "This guy is not okay." Then there is the famous shower scene, arguably the most analyzed and imitated 45 seconds of film ever made. Hitchcock's use of fast cuts, extreme close ups, and the absence of direct violence on screen is a stroke of genius. Bernard Herrmann's screeching violins amplify the horror. The camera in Psycho is more than a passive observer, it is an accomplice in the suspense. Hitchcock employs it like a peeping Tom, whether it is slowly creeping towards a closed door or giving us a bird's eye view of Marian's car sinking into a swamp. Even the showerhead is given a close up as if we are being pulled into the very drain along with Marianne. The stark black and white cinematography adds to the bleak, unsettling vibe, stripping away any sense of comfort or normalcy. It's almost as if the film itself is shot through the eyes of Norman Bates. Everything looks innocent at first glance, but upon closer inspection, something is terribly off. Movie number 2, The Birds, 1963. Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds movie turns an innocent trip to the pet store into a full blown avian apocalypse. It's a film that takes the everyday and twists it into a slow, creeping nightmare. Because what could be more innocent than birds? That is all until they decide to turn on humanity and reminds us that perhaps we are not at the top of the pecking order after all. The story starts off innocuously enough with socialite Melanie Daniels flirting her way into a small California town to pull a prank on liar Mitch Berner. You think you are in for a breezy romantic comedy, but no. Hitchcock has other plans. By the time the first bird dive bombs someone's head, you realize the birds is not about cute lovebirds in the cages. It is about Hitchcock caging you in a world where the rules of nature no longer apply. Hitchcock never bothers to explain why the birds are revolting. No mad scientist, no chemical spill, not even a passing, maybe they are angry at global warming, etc. Instead, he lets the randomness of the attacks make things even scarier. It's chaos for chaos' sake. And the fact that our feathered friends have no motive is what makes them truly terrifying. The film's opening scenes are bathed in a sunny, postcard perfect light, with Bodega Bay looking like the ideal spot for a weekend getaway. But as the bird's hostility escalates, so does the visual tension. The calm, picturesque setting begins to feel like a cruel joke, with the wide open sky slowly transforming into a menacing void. The cinematography uses extreme wide shots to show the sheer number of birds, which, instead of offering comfort, overwhelms the viewer. There is something deeply unnerving about watching thousands of birds gather silently in a jungle gym as if plotting their next move. When the birds attack, you are thrown right into the chaos with quick cuts between screaming faces and flapping wings. In one famous sequence, Melanie watches helplessly through a window as the birds relentlessly crash against the glass, a clear metaphor for the fragile illusion of human control. Hitchcock frames her like a bird in a cage, reversing the power dynamics in a way that is both brilliantly and disturbing. Another standout moment is when Melanie is trapped in a telephone booth, desperate, trying to avoid being pecked to death. The cinematography puts you in her shoes, or rather in her claustrophobic glass box, as birds slam into every side, turning the every object into a death trap. And the camera angle keeps shifting, giving you no stable point of view, which only adds to the feeling that you, too, are trapped in this bird driven nightmare. And then there is the sound or lack of it. Unlike Psycho, with its shrieking violence, the Birds doesn't rely on a traditional musical score. Instead, Hitchcock uses the eerie silence of the skies, punctuated by the dissonant squawks and flaps of wings. In true Hitchcock fashion, the birds does not end with a confronting resolution. There is no heroic rescue, no cathartic explanation, just a chilling silence as the survivors drive off, unsure if they will even make it to the next town. Hitchcock leaves us dangling, wondering if the birds will strike again or if they're simply waiting for the right moment to remind us who is really in charge. Movie number 3, North by Northwest, 1959. North by Northwest is Hitchcock at his most playful, an espionage thriller wrapped in a cat and mouse chase, all led by a man who's very good at being in the world place at the wrong time. starring Cary Grant as Roger Thornbill, an ad executive mistaken for a government agent. The film takes its audience on a wild cross country ride through mistaken identities, Cold War paranoia, and enough mischief to make even James Bond jealous. The plot kicks off when Thornhill, who is about as far as a secret agent as one can get, is mistaken for a non existent spy named George Kaplan. From there, he is whisked into a whirlwind of kidnappings, near death escapes, and sharp suits that never seem to wrinkle no matter how many times he is almost killed. And let us not forget the iconic crop duster scene where Hitchcock manages to turn a wide open cornfield into a claustrophobic death trap. Who knew that being chased by a plane in the middle of nowhere could be so nerve wracking? What makes North by Northwest so fun is that it's Hitchcock doing adventure. It is less about psychological horror and more about how much you can throw at a charming, bewildered protagonist before he finally cracks. Cary Grant is at his suave best here, quick with a quip, good under pressure, and never without a perfectly tailored suit, even when he is scaling Mount Rushmore. Hitchcock's love for iconic sweeping landscapes is on full display, from New York's gleaming skyscrapers to the vast barren plains of the Midwest. Cinematographer Robert Burks masterfully uses both grandiose settings and confined spaces to heighten the tension. One moment you are marveling at the scale of Thornhill running through the vast open fields as a plane zooms towards him. The next you are in the tight corridors of a train where every glance feels like it could reveal a spy. The crop duster scene is, of course, a visual masterpiece. Hitchcock plays with perspective brilliantly, wide, desolate shots that make Thornhill look minuscule as if swallowed by the vast landscape. The sense of isolation amplifies the tension as there is literally nowhere to hide. The long, slow build up with the distant sound of the plane's engine gradually getting louder is Hitchcock at his suspenseful best. Just when you think you have had enough of staring at cornfields, the plane swoops down and suddenly you are in the thick of one of cinema's most famous chase sequences. Hitchcock also uses the architecture of urban spaces to his advantage. Take the United Nations scene, for instance. The stark modernist design of the UN building contrasts with the chaotic action unfolding inside. And then there is the grand finale as Mount Rushmore. Hitchcock's choice to stage a climatic fight on the faces of US presidents is both audacious and oddly symbolic. Thornhill and Eve Kendall dangling from the face of George Washington perfectly encapsulate the film's mix of high stakes and high style. In Psycho, Hitchcock is like a puppet master slowly unraveling your mind. In The Birds, he plays the architect of chaos, creating an atmosphere where everything familiar becomes terrifying. And in North by Northwest, he is the conductor of a thrill ride, throwing twists and turns and iconic chase scenes at you with a grin. Three films, three types of suspense, endlessly clever and always ready to keep you on edge. Whether you are gripping your seat in a terror, watching the skies in fear, or laughing at the absurdity of it, all while hanging from Mount Rushmore. Thank you very much. Alfred Hitchcock, the master of suspense, once quipped, "Drama is life with the dull bits cut out." Quip, Q-U-I-P, quip means a witty remark. In his case, however, it was not just the dull bits. Hitchcock had a knack for turning the mundane into macabre. Mundane, M-U-N-D-A-N-G, mundane means dull, lacking interest. Macabre, M-A-C-A-B-R-E, macabre means gruesome, ghastly. Hitchcock's childhood in London's East End came with a ghostly backdrop. The shadow of Jack the Ripper still loomed large, with whispers of notorious killer circulating along after the murders. Circulate, C-I-R-C-U-L-A-T, circulate means move continuously or freely. His doting mother smothered him with watchful eyes and endless meals, providing both the foundation for his signature punch. Doting mother means a mother who shows lot of love for her child, often ignoring their fault. Smother, S-M-O-T-H-E-R, smother means overtly protective. Signature, S-A-G-N-A-T-U-R-E, signature means known for. Paunch, P-A-U-N-C-H, paunch means a large belly. Each offers its own distinct flavor or thrill, proving that Hitchcock could serve up psychological terror, apocalyptic dread, and high flying adventure with equal flair. F-L-A-I-R, flair means a special ability. The interiors, on the other hand, are claustrophobic and shadowy, with the taxidermy filled parlor practically screaming, "This guy is not okay." Claustrophobia. Claustrophobia means extreme fear of confined places. Taxidermy, T-A-X-A-D-G-R-M-Y. Taxidermy means the craft of preparing the skins of dead animals and birds and filling them with a special material to make them look as if they are alive. The story starts off innocuously enough with socialite Melanie Daniels flirting her way into a small Californian town to pull a prank on lawyer Mitch Brenner. Innocuous, I-N-N-O-C-U-O-U-S, innocuous means not harmful or offensive. Socialite means someone usually of high social class who is famous for going to lot of parties. In true Hitchcock fashion, The Birds does not end with a comforting resolution. There is no heroic rescue, no cathartic explanation. Cathartic, C-A-T-H-A-R-T-S-E, cathartic means providing psychological relief through open expression. For example, crying is a cathartic release. North by Northwest is Hitchcock at his most playful, an espionage thriller. Espionage, E-S-P-I-O-N-A-G, espionage means the activity of secretly collecting and reporting information, especially political, business, and military, to other countries. Thank you very much.